Hello, everyone. Yeah, in this GhIE 368 course, I have tried to bridge the gap between classroom knowledge and industry by trying to let us have engagement with practicing engineers. And if you recall, we have already heard from Engineer Mod of Department of Urban Roads. So we are privileged to have Engineer Bempong giving us a presentation today in which he's going to share with us some of his experiences and success factors. So, in fact, time will not allow me to tell you a lot about Engineer Bempong. I have personally worked under his supervision on several projects when I was at Associated Consultants. And I really learned a lot from him. In fact, I still learn a lot from him. So Engineer Bempong was a student just like you in Cairn University about 30 years ago. And he did his master's in the Netherlands. In fact, the number of years he's been working as a civil engineer in Ghana exceeds the age of every one of you. He has been working for 28 good years. So you can imagine the experience that he has under his belt. He's risen through the ranks to become a vice president at Associated Consultants, and he's currently the resident engineer for the Pokuase Interchange project. I believe you've all heard about that project. He's also the president-elect for Ghana Institution of Engineering. And probably some of you may know his son, Kwesi Bempong, who also studied civil engineering at KNUST and graduated only last year. Just by the way, Engineer Bempong's wife is a superintendent of police. So just in case you have a problem with the police, she may be able to help you out. Right, so without taking much time, it's all yours, Engineer Bempong, and thanks so much for accepting our invitation.
Well, thank you very much, Engineer Tutu, and I deem it a privilege to have this opportunity to speak to my own sons and daughters, and as a mentor to a lot of engineers in the past, it is for me a great privilege to do so. So I'll go straight away. As you mentioned, we don't have too much time, so I'll go straight away with the presentation. And thank you for the kind introduction. So in order to get a very good bandwidth, I'm going to switch off my video. I just wanted you to see me, and thereafter we can be talking through the slides. So I prepared some 25 or so slides, and I'll take you through them as quickly as possible. And I must state that when it comes to the issue of success, there's no one size fits all. It is something that we have to develop. So in this presentation, what I will seek to do is to give you more like an outline of what one can do. And my outline for this presentation will be, I'll talk a little bit about my education, the outline of my academic journey, the trials and lessons that I have learned, and which served as a foundation for my success. Then go into a little bit of my work life, where I work as associated consultant, and then the associations that I belong, because it is important that we understand that you cannot be an engineer and be in your own corner. You need to learn from others. And then I'll share with you some of my personal values, which formed the framework in my view, and again, I must say in my view, of who a successful engineer is. In the last one, I'm going to give you some key points or actions that will put you on the path to success and ensure you do not stray into oblivion. Helen Keller says that character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. It is developed only through experience of trial and suffering. And that is what the soul can be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. So this is a quote from Helen Keller. Now, my education, as Engineer Tutu or Dr. Tutu has already said, started from, well, my engineering education started from KNUST, I enrolled in 1989 and completed in 1993. And the picture in your view is when I was in second year. I remember this picture very well in this hall. We were doing something in geology. And I remember we all got 7/20. So the group which I belonged became known as the 07 group, the 07 group. But then the roots of education is bitter, but the fruits, I can tell you, are sweet. You need creative innovation, creativity, resilience. These are the words that embody the very foundation of my academic path. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering in 1993, and further completed my Master of Science degree in Highway Engineering at TU Delft IHE in the Netherlands in 1998. Now let's move on to my work life. I started work at Associated Consultants after I had been enrolled as a teaching assistant at KNUST right after my Bachelor of Science degree program. In those days, if you did well, you were automatically made a TA. I believe it is still the same. So I then joined Associated Consultants in 1995. And I want to say a little bit about Associated Consultants. This is a leading infrastructure consulting firm in Ghana, and we specialize in architecture, engineering, and quantity surveying services. We are a multidisciplinary firm, and we maintain world-class technical expertise. We maintain high standards for quality, health, and safety, and we are committed to delivering projects on budget and on schedule to the complete satisfaction of our clients. We are a wholly Ghanaian-owned firm, which was founded on July 1st, 1968, and have over the past 50 years provided dedicated and efficient service. What do we do? Our core operations in bridge structural engineering and architecture, social impact assessments, quantity surveying, project management, environmental impact assessment, water supply and sanitation, transportation engineering, and drainage engineering. These are our core operations. And these are our contact details. You can contact Associated Consultants at Akon House and at the website that I've indicated here. This is an anonymous quote, that success is not the result of the amount of time we put in at work. It is the quality of time we put in. This is very important. That I started work after my basic engineering in structural engineering. So I did some structural engineering for some time, and then I moved to materials and road engineering. And then I got the opportunity of working on several roads and bridges, bridges and interchanges, and some building projects. And as I speak to you, I've worked on so many projects, and some of them are what I've shown there. The Buakwa Bibiani Road, Asengregwa Enchi Road, the Tema Roundabout and the associated roads. This was just before the interchange was constructed. We did some widening works there. The Oforikrom Asokwa bypass and the interchange at Asokwa. I believe that those of you who know Kumasi would also be familiar with this interchange. I happened to be the deputy resident engineer at the time. And of course, Dr. Tutu was also here. He worked on this project many years ago. So by dint of hard work and also by the grace of God, I have risen through the ranks to my current position as a project manager. I also sometimes work as resident engineer in the studio about the Pokwasi Interchange project. And I'm currently the Vice President for Business Development at Associated Consultants. And these are some of the projects that we have undertaken as a company. The Achimota Bus Terminal, which I worked on personally. The Achimota Interchange Bridge, I was there also by then as a highway engineer. The Tema Still Concrete Road, I happen to have had the opportunity of designing this particular flagship project, because this was a pilot project and it's just about completing. The ECOWAS Fund, I wasn't there by then. The Achimota Interchange Bridge, I've already mentioned that to you. The graphic road overpass was also something that we worked on as a company. And the recent flagship project, which is the Pokwasi Interchange and Local Roads project, is something that I was responsible for the design and construction supervision. So during the design stage, I led a group of dedicated engineers to design this edifice that we all see today. And I got an opportunity again to become the resident engineer for the first 4-tier interchange in the whole of West Africa, and only the second in the whole of Africa. So this is quite a great achievement from so far as I would put it. And I've had opportunity of meeting so many, the president, and I've probably seen about 3 or so presidents, as part of my work life. And last month, on July 9th, this job was completed and commissioned by the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So let's also talk about some of my professional associations. Look, you need to surround yourself with those who won't compete with you, but will revel in your success and somehow see your ascent as a reflection of their own possibilities. And that is why I'm grateful to Dr. Tutu for encouraging me to, put these slides together. I have been a member of the Ghana Institution of Engineering since 1999, and I have just not been a member, but I served on the membership committee and later on became its chairman for 8 years running. And as he has already mentioned to you, I stood for elections as the president-elect after Professor Charles Adams completes his term. I will be the next president of the institution. I've also been a member of the Ghana Consulting Engineers Association and the Ghana Transportation Professionals Forum of North America. What are some of the values that I hold dearly? And I would want to share some of my personal values with you, because this is what would propel you into the level that you wish to attain, and that is what we call success. Please develop your character until integrity becomes second nature. Without integrity, you are not going anywhere. You will stay at the bottom. But first and foremost, be happy. Be happy with what your career is taking you to. You should have some level of passion. Without passion and without that joy of working, you are not getting anywhere. Time consciousness. Engineers' success comes out of being conscious about time. You need to also be humble. Humility should be your hallmark. And one of the things that I say about humility is that once you complete school, you should be ready to learn from anybody, whether the person is a subordinate, whether the person is your senior, whether the person is an artisan or even a draftsman. You have to be ready and be humble enough to learn from them, because they have been there much longer than you. You must also be ready to learn new things. After your basic education in engineering, you come out there and you probably sometimes have to unlearn what you learned and learn new things. What I tell my subordinates is that learn something each day. Learn something each day. And above all, hard work. Without hard work, you can be the most brilliant student or the most brilliant engineer, but your life will get nowhere. And as I started, professional ethics, honesty, integrity must be your hallmark. Without professional ethics, that will also be something that you will not be able to achieve what you set for yourself. Okay, now let's go to my action points. And the action points is that how to become a successful engineer. I have outlined them into, and I'm going to go into the details. Commit yourself to continuous professional development, which is the same as continuous professional education. Improve your problem-solving skills, improve your soft skills, focus on the details, learn from mistakes, understand business, embrace change, and define your goals. So I'm going to go one by one so that we'll be able to delve deeper into these issues. So the first thing is that there's a need for you to define your goals as an engineer. Successful engineering projects don't just happen by chance. Neither does successful engineering careers. There's a need for you to define your goals. It is when you define your set goals that you follow as your career, then you'll be successful. The second one is that there's a need for you to commit yourself to professional development. And this, I'm talking about continuous professional development. You have to teach yourself new things each day. If there's opportunity to learn from the web or from anywhere, from your seniors, your juniors, wherever there's opportunity, please avail yourself to study. If there's a program that is being organized either by the Ghana Institution of Engineering or there's a webinar, please make up your mind to participate. And in order to keep up with the rapidly changing world, it is important that we acquire new skills with enthusiasm. The next one is improve your problem-solving skills. Engineering is about solving problems. Sometimes the problems are not even known, but you would have to define the problems and then you solve them. So this is an essential skill in every field, but for engineering, this is very, very important. You need to have critical thinking and innovation. Without critical thinking and innovation, there is nothing that you'll be able to do so far as engineering is concerned. Please, copying or copying does not help you. Learn to start from the scratch. Think through. You are a scientist. You are an applied scientist. Think through the problem and then ask yourself which rule or which theory applies to what I am or the problem that I am faced with. Now, when you have such problem-solving skills, it helps you to be innovative as an engineer, and this will be the hallmark. This is what we call the hallmark of engineering. And engineering is not only about the hardcore, the DY, DX, and the various Laplace transformations or the theories that you have learned in school. There's a need for your improvement in your soft skills. And what I mean by soft skills, we are talking about organization, teamwork, and presentation skills. These are just as important as the technical skills. You need to also to be able to communicate and collaborate with other, engineers and other people from other professionals. So you'll be, collaborating with architects, with mechanical engineers, with electrical engineers, with so many people. This is what you need to do. You need to be a team player, because if you do not have team playing skills, then you might be the most brilliant engineer, but I can tell you, you are not going anywhere. Engineering is about details. We do not deal with the bird's eye view. Yes, the bird's eye view has its place, but details matter. The details matter. You have to be vigilant and meticulous in all tasks that you undertake. Because look, if you are an engineer and write a report and the report is riddled with errors, it shows that you are not complete as an engineer. Because if you make a mistake, remember that when we are killing, we kill a mass. The doctor will kill one person at a time, but the engineer kills so many people at one time. So we're just, because of your error, you can have a bridge collapsing, you can have a building collapsing, and that will lead to a huge human fatality. So we are very important, and this demands that we pay attention to details. Oh yes, some of us are always ready to make, we are afraid of making mistakes. Thomas Edison made so many mistakes, but through the mistakes, you learn. The greatest mistake a man can ever make is to be afraid of making one. Mistakes have the power of turning you into something better than you were before. So please don't be scared. Try your hands on new things. Don't be afraid of mistakes, because it is part of the human life. You also need to understand business. It is not, when you come out of school, it is not all about the technical. As I've mentioned to you, you need the communication skills, but you need to understand business. But that doesn't mean that you will make compromises on quality for the sake of business. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Okay, but we deal with money we deal with time, we deal with people who are trying to invest their monies into things. You say, oh, this is engineering, so I'm not going to change. Yes, you might have to listen to the viewpoints of others. And by doing this, it will help you be able to understand that which the entrepreneur or the other person would want you to do. And this is a skill that will help you and the others in the company to understand your perspective as an engineer. Yes, I started with saying that you should have a plan for your life as an engineer, or a career progression plan, but you must also be ready to embrace change. The art of life lies in the constant readjustments to our surroundings. Like a chameleon, you will not say that, oh, this is what I was taught in school, so when there's a new thing, I'm not going to learn it because this is the way it is done. Please, you need to be adaptable. You need to adapt to the changes around you. And this is about the most powerful, about the powerful difference between adapting to cope and adapting to win. This is what you need to do. Embrace change. Change, change, change. And as I come to the end of this presentation, I would want to state one thing, that have an attitude to contribute to society other than following after money and other consumer products. Jack Ma said something, money follows successful people. So this is my quote, when you are successful, money will follow you. Thank you very much for your audience.
Yeah, thank you very much, Engineer Bempong. In fact, your presentation is very loaded. Personally, I've learned a lot from you, and as I said earlier on, I keep on learning from you each time I have an encounter with you. So yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate your presentation, and I believe that it's going to be something that we will keep on our files, and every now and then we will play back and listen to your well-informed presentation. Thank you very much. I have some few questions for you. Because of time factor, I couldn't ask so many questions, but I have about 3 or so questions for you. So could you please tell us about a situation in your career life where you had to make a very critical decision on your own? Maybe you were on a project, there was no senior engineer around, and then you were in charge and you had to make a decision. So if you can walk us through the process that you implemented to arrive at a decision that was very helpful to the project.
Okay, thank you very much. I will probably want to recount something that happened on the Pokwase Interchange project. Even though there I was the person in charge, we always work as a team. So there was a situation where the contractor, even before that, you know, at a point when we had finished the design, I thought about why don't we include the investigation of each pier location in the contract, so that when the contractor comes to site, he would undertake site investigation of all the pier positions. This was something that came to mind, and I had to take a decision. And after taking that decision, it helped us put that. And I can tell you that that decision came in to save us, because when we came to site, we realized that there was large variation in the site conditions, contrary to what we had been told by the client. Because the client said, oh, this is the kind of thing that we have done before, and therefore there was no need for you to, you know, go through the investigations again. This was great. And then when we came to site, the contractor also came up with some interpretations of the site conditions. And I had to stand up and say that, no, you couldn't do it this way, because of the knowledge that I had, you know, in my materials and also my work or experience as an engineer. We were able to dispel a lot of the decisions that the contractor would have taken. And this is something which I probably would want to endear to all engineers, that if you know what you're about, it does not matter who, you know, comes out with an idea. If it does not pass what we call the smell test or the engineering test, you should be bold enough to say that, and of course you do it respectfully, that I think that this is not the right way. Can we take a second look at it? And then I believe that at the end of the day, it is going to inure to the benefit of the project and a credit to you as an engineer.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, a brilliant answer. In fact, your experience has reminded me of something that we learned in class about the scope of geotechnical investigation for pavement engineering. And if the class remember, I mentioned that the scope will depend on the stage of the project, right? And if it may be even necessary that during the construction stage, you may want to do some site investigation to confirm what the designer has proposed. So basically what Engineer Bempong has shared with us. Thank you so much. So my next question is, there is this idea that, well, engineering is all about, using software. If I can, efficiently use the software, then I'm good. And so there's no need to bother about the basics, right? So can you tell us the importance of knowing our basis, having strong foundation in theory, so that I think the question is clear, so please go ahead.
Okay, well, this is a question which we have always asked candidates for the engineering examination. There's a professional examination. Please, software is not engineering. Software invariably sometimes are created by computer scientists. And I'll share an example with you. I went to the UK to study about the software that we're using, to have training. And I can tell you, I asked those who wrote the software some technical questions. They couldn't answer. All they told me, also us, we are computer scientists. Please, it is important as engineers to have your theory, or let me call it the basics and the engineering principles at the tip of your hand. Because if you fail to do that, you remember what the computer scientists say, garbage in, garbage out. You should be able to relate to the answers that you get from your software. You should be able to know that this is my expectation. So if the software does not give me what I'm expecting, then I would go in to find out why I'm not getting the answers. But if you just accept anything that comes, then please, that will be disaster. So your knowledge and of your engineering principles and the application of those principles matter. Look, before you even start a design, you should have an expectation. You should have a certain thesis. If you do not have a thesis or an expectation, then anything goes. But that is not how engineering, has to be done. You need to sometimes even do, some calculations by hand to check what the software is giving to you.
Okay. Thank you.
So this is very important.
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah. And another issue is there's this kind of idea that, well, I'm in school, my interest is in maybe this area of civil engineering, maybe my interest is in maybe, let's say, structures, and I don't bother what I'm being taught in maybe highways or in water or in other area. After all, when I'm done with school, I will not be practicing in that area. Can you share experience with us where maybe your interest has changed after school? And how should we approach the various disciplines of civil engineering?
Thank you very much. Civil engineering is one. Let me start that way. But it had been broken into various specializations only for convenience of learning. Please, I mentioned to you, I started working as a structural engineer in Associated Consultants. And because that's what was available. If you're in consultancy, what is available is what you do. But throughout my life, I have done some drainage engineering. I've done a lot of materials, and the materials, pavement engineering, geotechnical and soils engineering. I've had, a stint with bridge engineering. Even in the other areas where what you do in first year applied, I don't know whether you're still doing applied electricity. I need to apply my applied electricity and my knowledge of electrical circuits and all those things in my engineering. So I would want you to know that whatever you do in class, that is what is going to be reflected as you work. They are all important. They are all important. There are many people who have come to me during, I told you I served as the chairman of membership committee. So we interview, candidates. And there are some people who come who have forgotten entirely about all the things that they've been taught in school because they claim that, this one is not important. Please, engineering or civil engineering is one. Before then, remember we had military engineering. It was only when there was, after the war, we then came up with civil engineering. And therefore, it encompasses every aspect, because when you are designing, you cannot design in a vacuum. You need to have an understanding of what the expectation of the drainage engineer. For instance, if you are doing highway engineering, you need to understand the drainage engineer. You need to understand what the materials thing will be like. You need to have an understanding of the structures. Survey, I still do survey. I need to understand what the surveyors do. So you need to have an understanding of all the areas of engineering, because if you become, for instance, a resident engineer and all you know is, let's say, water, then how would you be able to relate to the others? So this is something that I would want you to take every course that you are being taught seriously, because when you come out, it will be required of you that you have some working knowledge of the various fields of civil engineering.
Yeah, thank you. That's very true. And those students that have a chance to talk to on one, I tell them that even aside the civil engineering disciplines, whatever is involved in your course structure, you need to take it seriously, because it is developing an aspect of your faculty, of your thinking capacity. And it is quite common to hear stories of great achievers who, have transferred knowledge from a totally unrelated discipline to what they were working on. And so it's good to learn and take seriously whatever the course structure is offering you. Engineer, my last question to you is with regards to questions that I often encounter. So after school, right? So is it advisable to straight away pursue masters before you practice, or it's better to practice a while in the civil engineering discipline and then go in for further studies? What do you advise?
Well, this from my own perspective, I would want the individual to work for some time before pursuing the master's degree. This is my own personal perspective, because you're right after school, you might not be sure of the area of engineering you would want to move into, whether you want to do highway engineering or you want to do structural engineering. You might have some, preferences, but I would rather you work in an environment, get to understand the challenges within that environment before you go out to pursue your master's degree program. But then that does not also mean that you go in there and then realize that a particular field that you thought was attractive. You go and maybe there's another new program, which is an emerging technology or emerging program, and you say, oh no, that's for me. I came here to do structural engineering. So what is structural dynamics? Or what is earthquake engineering? No, this is not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the basic structural engineering. But you can never tell, because the world, as I mentioned, is fast changing. Some engineers have gone in and become AI engineers in artificial intelligence. So you have to open yourself up to the possibilities and the challenges that are within your environment. So because the whole idea of master's in engineering is to master in something that you will make a difference or to solve a problem within the society. So this is my view. There's no need to rush. You need to take your time, study, the environment, and then you go out there. And when you go out there, I'm telling you, you'll be successful. And let me give you my own experience. When I went to Delft, I can tell you for a fact that almost 70% of the courses that I took were the same thing that we had done at Tech. You know, things were so easy for me. And at a point, I remember my professor called me after one of our examinations. And you know, over there, we're doing open book examination. Just look at a tech guy who has been doing hardcore learning, and then you go and you are giving open book. And in that particular exercise or exam, the professor was unable to complete the syllabus, but he had given us the question. So when the question came and I saw it, I said, oh, this one, we did it, you know, in soil mechanics at the time. So I just went, the formulae were all in the book. I just did my, it had to do with, you know, this D60, D15 in sieve analysis. I just did it that this one should be a filter medium. How would it do? Just do the calculation, uniformity, coefficient, and all those things. And then you are able to do it. So this is the advice that I would give, because once you have mastered whatever you studied at your undergraduate level, it becomes easier for you when you get to the master's level. And I can tell you, even though there might be new courses, you will take it in its stride.
Yeah, that's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, I said my last question, but pardon me. Once
Yeah,
you are the
follow-up.
president-elect for Ghana Institute of Engineers, I would like you to put in the plug for students to register with the institution.
Yeah, very, very much so. I think that I mentioned to you that I joined the Institution of Engineering very early in my, you know, life as an engineer, and that has shaped my thoughts, because the Bible says that iron sharpeneth iron. You cannot just be in your corner and think that you can make it on your own. It is when you develop associations with other engineers and with other people from other categories of engineering, that is where you learn. So I would advise that each and every engineer should belong to a professional association, so that you will become a better engineer, not only in the technical field, but in all the other fields which I mentioned: communication skills, presentation skills, how to interact, how to, you serve on committees, you serve, you are given assignments that you execute. And in doing so, you would end up transforming your society. You pay, you pay your dues to society, because engineering is about changing society and the views of the society concerning engineering. So I would want each and every one of you to apply to become a member. If you are not yet a member, we have various categories of members. You have the student membership, we have the professional engineers, we have those who are trainee engineers, we have those who are fellows and senior professional engineers and all that. But you have to start from the lowest level and rise through the ranks. And please remember that we also have the Engineering Council law. The Engineering Council law, it requires that all engineering practitioners are registered, and this is the law. So please join the Institution of Engineering, Ghana Institution of Engineering, and be a proud member, so that you would develop your career with the assistance of your peers and your seniors to be successful as an engineer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Engineer Bempong. We've really enjoyed our time with you, and you've given us a lot of gems. We will just think about them and have them under our belt as we move through our educational, system. And when we come out, we are hoping that some of you may have the chance to work with you and learn more from you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. God bless you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you too for having me. Bye.